So in this video, what I'm going to talk about is how we can use display rules to change the color, in this case, of text based upon its Z elevation. Now, I have created two display styles. We'll talk more about this in a minute. One that turns this on and another that turns it off. So I'm going to turn this on, and what you're going to see on the right, when it applies that display style to the view, the color of the text is determined by its Z elevation. And it also, I've changed the weight to make it look as if it's more solid. If I choose the display style off, it returns back. So if I zoom in on one of these pieces of text, kind of hard to see them here. Let me select this. You can see here. So if I was to look at this text and look at its properties, I choose the text here and I look at the geometry, you can see here its origin. In this case, in this particular case, it's negative 19.3 survey feet. So we can also see that down here. If I snap to that point, you can see on my AccuDraw down here and also my message center, the elevation. So what we're going to do is we're going to change its color based on that value. Do a fit view. Now, how did we do this? Setting it up as a display style is optimal, and display styles can come from a DGN library file. So it's recommended, if you want to provide this to the group through your workspace, you would create a DGN lib file and you would set up your display styles with the display rules in that DGN lib. Okay, so I've already done this in my active file, but again, I would recommend you do this in your DGN lib file, and it can be a specific DGN lib file that only contains this information. So I'm going to go to my display styles dialog here, and you can see this is where I had created two display styles, those two display styles that I was choosing from. One, the on, applied the display rule, and the other one turned off the display rule, set it to none. So how did I do this? So I'm going to go ahead and create a brand new display style. And I recommend putting an underscore in front. There's other characters you can use, but that sorts it to the top. So I'm going to put an underscore, and we're just going to call this ABC. That way, again, it sorts it to the top. So over here on the right, this is where the display rules are. And I'm going to click on this, and you can see there's the one display rule that I've already created. But what we want to do is create a new one. Now I can click on this icon right here, and this will bring up my display rules editor, where I can also create a new display rule, which I'm going to do in a moment. But to break down, this is the existing display rule, the one I called bathymetric mapping. If I select this area here, the condition, we can look and see it's looking for an element, and that element is text, and it's looking for that text Z origin. And then the operator, I said, if it's less than or equal to, in this case, this is 0, and also that it is the same element and the same origin Z, and if it's greater than -2. So anything between 0 elevation and -2, that's what it's looking for. Once it finds it, here's the action. And this is where you can add an action in, the green plus sign. I chose symbology. You can do other things, but symbology is what we wanted. And this is what appears. If I click on this, you can see this is where I set the color to override its existing color. And I also set the weight, in this case, to 4. You don't have to set the weight to 4. I just did it because it makes it look thicker. And so from a zoom ratio, it looks like it's a solid area. So that's what we need to do. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new display rule. And we're going to call this mapping text. Then we have to add a new condition. Starts off as applies always. I'm going to click on that. First thing we're going to do is look for the text, and we're going to click on this. Now, it should come up to DGN elements unless you have item types in your file, and then it's going to default that. But we're looking for DGN elements here. And then we're going to go down to text, Scroll down. We're going to go down to geometry. Scroll down, go into the origin of the text, and we're going to go to the Z. Now here, this is where we choose the operator, and we're going to say if it's less than or equal to, in this case, 0 elevation. That's what the first start point. Then we're going to add in a new condition. We're going to do essentially the same thing. Pick the same. Go to geometry. Go to origin. Go to Z. This time we're going to say if it's greater than, and this is where we'll put in our -2. So anything between 0 elevation and -2, that's our search criteria. I'm going to click OK. Comes up, and here's my action. I'm going to click on my actions. I'm going to say symbology. It comes up on the icon here. I click on that. This is where I'm going to choose the color, and I can choose, again, whatever color I want. It's always best, you're going to be doing elevations, so you may choose a different increment to color them by. I did every 2 feet. You may want it every 1 foot or every ½ foot. That just means more colors. And then you're going to kind of want to have a color scheme that works for that. So in this case, I'm just going to say green, and, well, better yet, let's do red. I'm going to say red, and I'm going to check the weight option, and I'm going to say I want a weight of 5, just for this discussion here. So now I've got that first one, and then I would go ahead and do new, and I would create additional ones for each one. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this one. Now I've got that set. Just to see how this works, I'm going to choose this one, and I'm going to assign my mapping text. And I'm going to double click on this. And in this case, there you go. So there's all the text that's at 0 elevation or greater. So not much there. So it's not going to show up. But anyway, that's how you would do it. Again, you can do this in your active file, or you can do it in a DGN library file. Either way will work. Hopefully that's helpful.